Introduction. Organizational culture is instrumental in shaping employees' behavior. It is possible to state that it defines the development of any organization. Organizational culture can be defined as a set of shared basic assumptions that are considered valid by all the members of the organization. Three perspectives can be employed to approach organizational culture. The integration perspective sees the organization as a unified entity that strives for harmony, clarity, and homogeneity. There is a single culture shared by all the members, and although there can be some other cultures, they are inferior. The culture is the set of values that create the necessary background to integrate all members. From the differentiation perspective, the organizational culture cannot be unified and adopted by all employees due to diversity. Proponents of this approach stress that clarity can arise within subcultures only as employees are very different and often unite in specific groups. The subcultures are often in conflict with each other as they have rather different features. The fragmentation perspective sees the organizational culture as a set of loosely linked subcultures that are changing and can be in conflict. From this perspective, the consensus is issue-specific and transient. According to proponents of this framework, subcultures often form issue-based coalitions. It is possible to identify similarities and differences in the perspectives with the use of different theories on culture. Schein's three levels of culture. Schein developed a three-level model based on the assumption that three levels of culture exist. These levels are basic assumptions, values, and artifacts. Basic assumptions are shared by members of the organization and transform into particular values. The most vivid level is the one of the artifacts that are developed and accumulated based on values. As for similarities, it is necessary to note that they all share particular values and assumptions. Importantly, the integration and differentiation approaches accept the existence of the superior culture and inferior subcultures while the fragmentation perspective focuses on plurality. Therefore, it is possible to note that all three perspectives similarly see the presence of diverse assumptions, values as well as artifacts. At the same time, the degree of adoption of assumptions, values, and artifacts makes the three approaches different. The integration framework sees the culture unified, and the three levels of culture are universally adopted in the organizations. However, there can be some other cultures and their different levels may appear. For instance, while a single culture, on all levels, is accepted, some values or assumptions can also exist, but they will be less articulated. From a differentiation perspective, there can be one superior culture, but other subcultures may have a significant influence on the organization. These cultures may intermingle on some levels. According to the fragmentation perspective, various cultures exist, and they can occasionally share some values, assumptions, or artifacts. Handy's cultural typology. Handy introduced a typology that sheds light on some aspects of the culture. The typology includes such types of culture as power, role, task, and person. All three perspectives can see the organizational culture as role and person cultures. The role culture implies that the focus is placed on the roles rather than personalities, while the person culture involves the focus on an individual. The two other types of Handy's typology unveil the differences between the perspectives. Power culture can be applied in the integration perspective where there is a unified culture with a possibility to tolerate some subcultures that are inferior. This type can be partially applicable within the differentiation perspective as there can be a superior culture with central power, although the power is often shared by subcultures. The task culture can be applicable within the fragmentation perspective only as the framework reveals the existence of many cultures that can form coalitions to complete certain tasks, which makes the organizations task-oriented. Hofstede's 5 dimensions. It is possible to note that Hofstede's 5 dimensions can be regarded as the most comprehensive framework for discovering similarities and differences between the three perspectives in question. The dimension of collectivism versus individualism unveils the similarity as the three perspectives see cultures, irrespective of the power concentration, as sets of values shared by people within these structures. Thus, all the perspectives acknowledge people's need to develop and share some values. The other four dimensions reveal the differences between the perspectives. The power dimension shows that all three approaches see the power distribution differently. The integration framework insists on centralized power, characterized by power respect. Differentiation perspective acknowledges the possibility of centralized power but focuses on the power distribution within groups, characterized by power tolerance. Whereas, the fragmentation approach sees the organizational culture as a set of equally powerful cultures. Uncertainty avoidance also shows the different approaches. Thus, the highest degree of uncertainty avoidance is found within the integration perspective. Uncertainty acceptance is a characteristic feature of the fragmentation perspective while the differentiation approach is in between. The uncertainty is minimal when there is a single culture. The degree of uncertainty increases with the increase in the number of cultures. As regards the masculinity versus femininity domain, the fragmentation perspective stands out as the organization is task-oriented, which is the focus of masculine cultures. The differentiation and integration perspectives can imply different degrees of femininity. Finally, the long-termism dimension unveils the differences. The fragmentation perspective stands out as it focuses on short-term oriented cultures. The integration perspective involves the focus on long-term oriented cultures, and the differentiation perspective is in between. Conclusion. On balance, it is possible to note that the three perspectives mentioned above have something in common but are quite different. Such theories on culture as Schein's three levels of culture, Handy's cultural typology and Hofstede's 5 dimensions help identify these similarities and differences. It is necessary to point out that integration and differentiation perspectives are rather closely connected while the fragmentation framework stands out. You can find this and many other essay samples on our website, studycorgi.com.